Benvenuti. This is the Italian News in English podcast for the week of September 3rd, 2012. Mi chiamo Gio, reporting today on this feature story. According to the Italian news agency ANSA, the federal government is preparing to look for oil off the southeast coast of Italy, near a protected marine reserve in the Adriatic, belonging to the region of Puglia. While Italy's culture and environmental ministries have given the Irish exploration firm Petro-Celtic International plc the green light to begin the operation, officials in Puglia and the nearby coastal regions of Molise and Abruzzo are organizing to stop the project and prevent future drilling. The protected marine reserve nearby is the Tremiti Islands, a group of 5 islands with a history of inhabitants that dates back at least to the Bronze Age. The islands were designated a marine reserve in 1989, and in 1996 they were declared part of the Gargano National Park. The clean, clear water and diversity of marine life make the islands a favorite spot for scuba divers. According to the reserve, the waters provide a home for snapper, bream, lobster, crayfish, mullets, seahorses, octopus, cuttlefish, grouper, and other species, as well as a wide variety of vegetation. In order to preserve the pristine water and the life it sustains, the islands are divided into 3 zones, each with its own limitations on swimming, diving, fishing, and boating. In addition to marine life, the waters near the islands also contain a number of historic shipwrecks, including a 16th century Turkish warship and a boat employed by Giuseppe Garibaldi in fighting to create modern Italy in 1860. According to Frummers, the Tremiti Islands are small, with less than 800 total acres among them, although San Domino, the most popular destination for visitors traveling via ferry from the mainland, becomes packed in August, the traditional month for Italian holidays. The natural beauty of San Domino and its surroundings inspired the island's nickname, the Pearl of the Adriatic. Once the tourists depart, the Tremiti Islands are home to less than 500 permanent residents. Angry at what they say is the federal government's lack of concern for the marine preserve and disregard for local input on the controversial project, Stefano Pecorella, president of Gargano National Park, and other park officials will meet with Puglia's regional president, Nicky Vendola, and the mayors of about 20 coastal towns on September 4th, with the aim of organizing opposition to the search operation. A second meeting has been set for September 6th, ANSA reports, including Antonio Fentini, mayor of the Tremiti Islands, park officials, and officials from the coastal towns of Molise, Abruzzo, and Puglia. The growing opposition appears to be rooted in 3 concerns. The potential negative impact drilling for oil could have on marine life within the reserve. The damage conducting industrial operations near the Tremiti Islands could do to ecotourism, an essential part of the local economy, and resentment over federal authorities dictating to the local region, over their clear opposition, how their area's waters should be used. As for the Italian government, Environment Minister Corrado Clini, who approved the oil exploration project, says that the initial search is needed to see what oil exists in this part of the Adriatic, so that the government can properly determine if drilling is worth the costs, according to ANSA. Clini told the Corriere della Mezzogiorno, "If oil is found, it shall be decided by weighing the advantages and disadvantages along with Croatia and Slovenia. We simply applied the law in force, and it is not the production of hydrocarbons in the Adriatic, but only an exploratory technique using air guns to see what is in the ground." According to the Mezzogiorno, Clini added that the final decision will not be his. After our opinion on compatibility with the environment local area, it is the responsibility of the Ministry of Economic Development, Clini said. Mayor Fentini of the islands, however, takes a different view of Clini's action. "This is the umpteenth proof of worrying inattention by the state toward the territory, stripped of any value other than those permeated by squalid commodification," Fentini raged in a written statement released last week. With battle lines drawn between the federal government and local authorities and environmentalists, one thing is certain. If oil is discovered in the Adriatic near the Trimiti Islands, the fight over whether drilling should take place to retrieve it will be a fierce one. We'll be back in less than 1 minute with news briefs from around Italia.
Like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque. Looking through the crystal ball, can you picture this? And it isn't sad at all. What about the happy part when I came and stole your heart? What about the happy end? And it's not only pretend. I'm growing old and it's so picturesque, and it's hand in hand we go, and I couldn't picture it as I love it so.
That was a portion of the 1995 release Picturesque by Calabrese American Phil Angotti of Chicago. Angotti's music is available for purchase on iTunes by searching for Angotti, Angotti. And now, these news briefs. Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini, the beloved former Archbishop of Milan, died last week at the age of 85 years old, with a public wake and funeral scheduled this week at the Duomo di Milano. ANSA reports that the Cardinal died after a lengthy battle with Parkinson's disease. Cardinal Martini was known as a compassionate, liberal thinker within the church hierarchy, and his ability to bring people together in spite of their differences in politics and church teachings earned him near universal respect. A Jesuit priest, Martini was ordained in 1952 and served as Milan's archbishop for 22 years, beginning in 1980. He was a native of Turin. According to ANSA, Milano Mayor Giuliano Pisapia tried to explain what the loss means to the Milanese. Difficult times require words of wisdom and hope from great men, and Carlos Maria Martini illuminated the way for an entire city. For this reason, today more than ever, Milan mourns its archbishop. Mario Monti's federal government has announced that, as part of its efforts to reform Italy's legendary bureaucratic complexity and to increase efficiency in government, Italy will soon move to electronic identification cards for all Italians. The new cards, officials say, will enable Italians to access government services, including healthcare, easily, and will also serve as valid identification for any number of purposes. At the time of this broadcast, no timetable was available for when the cards are expected to come online. Last week, an earthquake recording 4.6 on the Richter scale shook the Strait of Messina, and though anxious residents along the northern Sicilian and southern Calabrian coasts were awakened in the middle of the night and frightened by falling furniture and rattling light fixtures, no one was injured in the quake and no major property damage reported, says the Corriere della Sera. The quake was felt as far north as Cosenza province, and according to the Courier, set off a flurry of Twitter and Facebook posts by Italians that revealed a safe but anxious populace. The epicenter of the quake was offshore and deep underwater, which may have helped reduce the impact for nearby residents. ANSA reports that Italian car sales this August declined more than 20% over the same month in 2011, a sharp decline that follows a report from automaker Fiat in July that its sales for that month also fell 20%. Italy's transport ministry released the figures, citing weak demand for new cars across Europe as the primary cause. In August 2011, 70,764 Italian cars were sold, versus just 56,447 last month. ANSA also reports that the Consumer Association Codicons warns that Italians returning from the traditional August holiday will face rising food costs, with increases as high as 10% for products impacted by increased fuel costs. The association estimates that Italian families may spend about €600 more per year on food alone, not including the continued hikes expected in the cost of gas, water, electricity, and other services. Kodakans and other consumer groups are planning a one-day shopping strike for September 19th, according to ANSA, to protest the impact of rising costs on Italian families and to seek government relief in the form of reduced VAT and fuel taxes. The 2012-13 Serie A season is underway, and as Italy's footballers head into the international break for World Cup qualifying, Juventus, Napoli, and Lazio stand atop the Italian Premier League table with 2 wins, no losses, and no draws, followed by Sampdoria, a surging AS Roma side, Catania, and Torino, all of whom remain undefeated early on. Juve, last year's champion, remains atop the table on goal differential, +1 over Napoli and Lazio. Siena has the tallest hill to climb, having been assigned a points deduction to start the season for match fixing by some of its players when the Tuscan side was competing in Serie B 2 years ago. With a 0-0 draw at home versus Torino and a 2-1 loss at Napoli with the penalty, Siena rests at the bottom of the table at -5 points. The top goal scorers after 2 weeks of play are Yugoslavian Stefan Jovetic of Fiorentina and Gianpaolo Pazzini of AC Milan, each with 3 goals in 2 matches. When play resumes on September 16th, league leaders Juve will face off against Genova, Napoli will take on Parma, and Lazio will battle Chievo Verona, among other matches. That's all for this week's Italian News in English podcast. We welcome your comments on stories from this or previous episodes. Follow Geosphere, GIOSPHERE, on Twitter and send your comments via tweet or direct message. Thanks for joining us. Grazie mille e ciao.